So let's jump right into the top 10. Mo, number 10, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. And I was a little surprised that I had them here, like in my top 10 at all. But they added Paul George and Caleb Martin. Kelly Oubre is coming back. Kyle Lowry's back for another year. He's kind of a coach on the floor kind of guy. Kelly Oubre was good for them last season, especially I thought towards the end of last season, defensively, I mean. And obviously he was good too, but we're talking about defense here. I just think that they have a lot of weapons here. I think they have a lot of tools, especially on the wing. They were on the fringe of the top 10 when Joel Embiid was healthy last season. They added Andre Drummond also behind Embiid, who's going to help some of those non-Embiid minutes. Nick Nurse is established as a great defensive coach. And as long as Embiid plays, I don't know, 60 to 70 games, which is more than what he played last year, I think their floor is pretty high. And so I kind of shoehorned them into the top 10 here.
I'm with you in terms of talent, but the funny thing is they're the other team I don't bet on right. When it comes to, because you just don't know with injuries. And, Embiid hasn't been able to stay healthy all year. Doesn't get talked about a lot. Paul George doesn't stay healthy a lot. So I think, we're kind of sleeping on that. So now they've added two guys that we have to add to that variable. If they're healthy for 90% of the season, I think they're higher than 10 even. I think they have the talent level to be higher than that. But it's a bet that you're taking where you're looking at it going like, shoot, man, like, are we going to have enough games for these guys? Like, I think they should limit Embiid's games. I think they need him healthy by the playoffs. I think they need to be smart about how they play him, how they use him. I don't think he should play 70-something games this season. It's honestly, I think they should. It'll drive everybody nuts, but they should load manage him because I want to see what he looks like healthy in the playoffs. And playing a lot of games has not been something that's really helped him.
I agree with everything you're saying. I probably have a little bit more of a bias for Philadelphia than I do for the LA Clippers that I personally just can't even explain. I have no idea why that exists, but it exists. I just had and that's why I said I'm surprised I had him in my top 10. This is more of me, I don't know, betting on that infrastructure a little bit more than some of the honorable mention teams that I had, and I was like, I don't really know who my top 10 is going to be. I feel pretty good about my top 9. The 10th one, I was kind of like Philadelphia is like the best honorable mention. If we really want
to, that was really what it was. You just I have to put somebody at 10. Has to be a top 10, not a top 9.
You know what? And I make the rules. Why can't it be not a top 9? This is my show. I can make it a top 9. That'll be like the
It's actually a conversation I just heard on another podcast. We like round numbers. We like our numbers to end with 10. We like it, 15. Right. We don't do top 14. We don't do top 13. Like, we like it in sports in particular. We like it to have the even end, the top 10 or a top 5. We do it in increments of 5.
Increments of 5, increments of 10 are even more of an accomplishment. You're absolutely right. But you know what? We could break rules here. It's a new era of NBA analysis. Woj's retired. Like, we could do whatever we want.
I mean, we got to talk about that. Woj retiring to become the GM of the St. Bonaventure team. Like, I don't know what. I want to know what news broke him where he's like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to go take a GM job for a very low major college, maybe mid-major. I don't know. I don't watch enough college basketball.
Oh, go Bonnies.
Yeah, whatever. But like low-level stuff to I just want to know what source broke him and what was the news that they're like, we need you to leak this. And he was like, no, I'm out.
Right. You know what? I don't need to do this. No, it was like trying to figure out like the extension news and all this kind of stuff or whatever. I honestly, again, new tangent. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm surprised he lasted that long. That job is grueling, man. Like, that is a no sleep job. And he's actually going to a job in college where you have to deal with the NIL stuff that forced like Nick Saban out. Now, granted, the extremes of being the head coach for Alabama football and doing whatever he's doing for St. Bonaventure men's basketball, I think is probably going to be a different level of stress. But he's like, NIL, that seems like way less stressful than being the leading newsbreaker 24/7, 365. That tells you how stressful that job was.
Wes, how big do you think the St. Bonaventure NIL treasure chest is? Can we?
It's all Woj's money now. The guy was making $7 million a year at ESPN.
Yeah, like, what are we doing? Like, come on, man. Like, it's talking about maybe they get enough, and it's like what, $1 million, $2 million. Like it's not a whole thing. And I have opinions on Saban, but we can save that for another day. I'll take us on too many tangents.
Is it anti or pro? You can just tell me that.
Probably anti.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm a Dolphins fan, so he left us high and dry. So you're preaching to the choir here. So you're going pro Eric Spoelstra, anti Nick Saban. You know your market. You know your market, Mo. Speaking of, actually, wait, before I get to the Heat, number 9 on my list, top 10 defenses in the league next season according to defensive rating. I've got Cleveland. This is a team that has hung its hat on the defensive end the last several years. They were number 1 in defensive rating 2 years ago. They were number 6 last year, again, according to Cleaning the Glass, basically the same according to NBA.com's defensive rating metric. But as long as they have Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, which was a little bit of a question this summer, we didn't know if they were going to hold on to both of them. They decided, you know what, let's just run it back. We got those two. We got Garland. We got Donovan Mitchell. We got some good pieces coming off the bench for us. I know there's a coaching change. You've got Atkinson there instead of JB Bickerstaff, but I just feel like their infrastructure is already there. And I think that whatever they were doing defensively wasn't the question in Cleveland, right? It was the offensive question. So it wouldn't surprise me if Atkinson was just like, defensive playbook, not touching it. Just gonna let us keep doing the same thing that basically Steve Kerr did when he took over from Mark Jackson in Golden State. And of course, Atkinson worked under Steve Kerr the last couple of years, where Steve Kerr talked a lot about, the defense wasn't the problem. I just left the Mark Jackson playbook the way it was. I left the strategy the way it was, and he fixed the offensive end. So if they do that, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, those two guys on the court together, Cleveland had a 112.5 defensive rating, which is easily top 10. And it's also awesome when it's just one of them. 112.4 with only Mobley, 112.7 with only Jarrett Allen. Mobley played just 50 games last season. I think most people expect him to play more games this coming season. So as long as those guys are healthy and available, I kind of think they're just walking into a top 10 defense. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's even going to be higher when you take into account last season. They lost Mobley for a large stretch of the season. I think I was going to say they also lost Garland, but that might have improved their defense. I think they have a top 5 defense, to be honest, with their talent level in terms of just those two Twin Towers. I am one on the belief, though, that they should have actually moved Jarrett Allen in the offseason and then go from there, because I don't know if it's their problem is the offensive end. I don't think they can build an offense with those two unless Mobley's going to really start to space the floor better. And I think that's more the big issue for them. But again, like you said, defense wasn't the issue. If Atkinson comes in and keeps their base defense the same, I think they're not going to worry about it. I think they're going to be fine, and I think they're going to have a chance of being an actual top 5 defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up in the top 5. And the interesting thing about moving Jarrett Allen is that I think he's better than Evan Mobley right now. But there's no question that Evan Mobley has a higher ceiling. And that puts him in a really tough spot, right? Where, okay, well, we've got Donovan Mitchell, who we just re-signed. He wants to win right now. We've been in the playoffs the last few years. Like we made this coaching change to try to improve the team, right? Not to take a step back. And if you trade Jarrett Allen, no question you're taking a step back in the short term, even if it means a long-term, improvements going down the line, which you and I agree on that. I think eventually they need to build around Evan Mobley. It just feels like, yeah, he needs to learn how to space the floor and stuff, but is that the best version of Evan Mobley?
Right.
Because I feel like, no, it's the best version of the Cavs, but it's not the best version of Evan Mobley. So they're in a really tough spot do we take a calculated step back?
It's actually the best version of the Cavs as well, in that sense of like, in the long-term future of what they're trying to build, because we just know it doesn't work. Right. We've seen it now enough, offensively, where offense sputters, come playoff time and things like that. So, and we saw how good Mobley was when he was the 5 and Allen was out. Like, I think it's pretty obvious, he is the 5. I think long gone are the days of these bigs coming in and thinking that they could be the 4. Remember, Wemby came in and played the 4.
Yep.
Right. And that was, he wanted to be the 4. And they kind of showed like, nah, man, ain't going to work. You got to be the 5. And when he switched over to being the 5, things took off for him on another level. Like, I think that's kind of the case study everybody has to start looking at. And I think the Cavs are making a mistake in just delaying this stuff, wasting another year in doing this. And I understand why. It's because Kenny Atkinson coached, Jared Allen got fired because he wanted to start Jared Allen over DeAndre Jordan, and the star players weren't having it in Brooklyn. So, like, yeah, he's reunited with his guy, and it doesn't want to kind of replace him in that sense, but I still think it's a mistake.